Welcome to California's Foodland. I'm Robert Thompson, and here's Rossco Soletrain.
Sup, bro? How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How was the commute this morning?
Oh man, it was brutal.
My wife says it all the time. She says, "Hey, hun, you got to be careful out there. There are plenty of tigers on the road." Did you hear about that in Florida? There was a tiger that attacked a Nissan. It ripped off the car door, and it started having sex with the folks inside.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. Funny enough, I actually saw an animal that was on the loose on the Highway 5 the other day.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw a giant cow.
Oh, you don't
on
say.
The 5, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was scary as shit, I will say. Say that.
Man, well, it's great to be here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Because we're not really talking about cows per se, but a couple of the ingredients that we use, or they use in the process of making these, what the podcast is based around, is my
husband says that when it's raining outside, you got to watch out, man. It's been raining in California. I thought it would be fun to try a morning zoo show.
Are you trying like weird new bits? Like I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Jesus Christ. We are talking about Mrs. Fields cookies today, Robert. Mrs. Fields
cookies, yeah.
Wow.
I was a strange cookie to start the show off with a little improv, but
yeah. Well, Mrs. Fields cookies started off very little.
Yeah.
When she started baking.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about that just yet because we got to get to my favorite segment.
Your favorite segment, a fast food minute. Enjoy.
Boo! This is Fast Food Minute with Zack Hilman. Why settle for wedding bells when you can have Taco Bells? The Mexican-styled fast food chain's flagship Las Vegas location now allows you to add a side of matrimony to your order. Just bring a marriage license, preferably one with no hot sauce stains, and place your order right at the counter. Then you'll head up to the second floor, where you'll be married by an ordained officiant, which they refer to as an officiarito supreme. You'll also have access to a private reception area, where you and 15 of your closest friends and family can fart yourselves to the points of asphyxiation. Factor in a taco 12-pack and some Cinnabon Delights, and you'll agree that the $7 worth of food totally justifies the $600 price tag. But that's not all! You'll also get a sauce packet garter and bow tie, Taco Bell branded champagne flutes, and just married shirts for the bride and groom. You can also purchase a bouquet of hot sauce packets just in case you want your wedding to be really classy. If it's anything like your other drunken late-night T-Bell orders, there's no way that this will come back to haunt you in the morning. But if it does, you can always head for the border.
Wow, man, that was pretty good.
Yeah, it tickled my fancy.
Tickled your pickles. It tickled your cookie dough.
It did, dude.
Yeah. Boop, boop, boop,
yeah. Oh God, I love Mrs. Fields, dude.
Ew.
I love soft and I said that, man. Yeah, soft and chewy,
moist, and all these other gross words that people just love hearing come out of our mouths.
Yeah, well, a lot of people that write like food reviews always use those, and it sounds like very pornographic.
Sounds gross. Yeah. My buddy George, he always has a hard time with those kind of words.
Description.
Yeah, especially food descriptions, especially people that don't know what the fuck they're talking about describing food.
What are some words that won't be good to describe food? Oozing,
leathery,
leathery.
leathery.
Oh, like you're eating Nick Nolte's forehead or something.
Nick Nolte-esque would actually be a good one, Yeah, it's like,
beef jerky maybe describe. You know what I mean?
Maybe even then, like you don't want leathery beef jerky.
The Iggy Pop.
Oh Jesus Christ! Yeah. It kind of has like a smell like a Iggy Pop, after a long night of heroin and booze and a couple of shows, a couple of late night shows.
Man, well, speaking of Iggy Pop and his lust for life,
Mrs. Fields cookies.
Mrs. Fields cookie is a lust for life because they are divine.
Yeah, man.
Wild story too.
Funny how like we're going back to back mall businesses.
Yeah, they starting
in malls. Yeah. And, well, actually, Mrs. Fields didn't necessarily start. She didn't start in a mall, but kind of found her foothold in the malls. So
Debbie Fields.
Yeah. And in fact, weirdly enough, the last episode, if you didn't catch it, was about Panda Express, which we are huge fans of now. But weirdly enough, the Panda Express and the Mrs. Fields were directly across from each other at the Santa Rosa Mall when I was growing up. Yeah, they both had the corner spots. So it just goes to show how much everyone loves both Mrs. Fields and Panda.
Well, in mall food courts, I feel like Panda Express is a given. It's
Yeah.
I'd always think of like back in the day, it was like Orange Julius, Sbarro's.
Right.
I mean, depending on where you were in the country, Chick-fil-A. Not for me, really.
Not here.
Maybe in the
Hot
90s.
dog on a stick.
Hot dog on a stick was one. Panda Express was one.
Yeah.
But so was Mrs. Fields.
Yeah.
Mrs. Fields. Orange Julius.
Orange Julius was always the one that I would. I probably wouldn't even eat mall food, but Orange Julius was always a place that I would go to.
Yeah.
And Orange Julius, they merged with Dairy Queen. Then a lot of those locations in California were Orange Julius Dairy Queens, which was great because there's no fucking standalone Dairy Queens around in California. Really, there's a couple around here.
In my hometown, there was one forever.
Yeah,
forever.
It's gone now.
Yeah, and the manager there was hilarious. I had a friend that worked there that was on drugs at the time, and they hit it off really well. But it's this dude. He was great. He was a real wild Indian guy. Yeah, and I remember one time I went in there and I went to say hi to my friend. He's like, "Oh, you know this guy? Yeah, he sucks." like straight face.
I love this.
Yeah, he was great.
Those managers.
Yeah, he hired all these hot young ladies too, and is in prison.
Well,
so
sometimes that happens.
Yeah,
it's funny how like
hot legal women too.
You'll see like certain places will just have like you look around at the wait staff and you're like, this hiring manager has a type. You could tell.
Yeah,
it's kind of gross sometimes.
Baskin Robbins too. What's with the ice cream spots? They're like
not the Baskin Robbins that I go up to up north.
No,
they're pretty like. It's like a pretty random array of people.
Yeah, it looked like they'd make like Me Too Sundays. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a place up north that I used to go to breakfast called Don Taylor's Omelet Express. I'll fucking spell it right out. Don Taylor's Omelet Express.
You heard it first,
and
dude.
Fucking Don Taylor, the guy, he like ran for city council and successfully a few times. And I mean, when your restaurant is called Don Taylor, like it's so fucking self-serving, and Don Taylor was the guy that would the wait list in the morning because they were busy. He would be the guy that would control the wait list in the morning, but you could tell that Don Taylor had a fucking type, allegedly. You could see.
Did he have shoulder pads?
Don Taylor?
Yeah.
No, he was a big dude though. He was about your height, same size as you. Had a real like presence about him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Don Taylor's Omelet Express, like. Yeah, that guy's wait staff, you could tell like he definitely.
Well, this kind of like creepy guy thing, it kind of also kind of plays a thing in how cool of a success story a female, story. Like Debbie Fields, dude,
was an absolute go-getter.
Yes,
let's just break into the history right now, man. She was born in 1956. She was the youngest of 5 siblings. Her maiden name, Debbie Sevier, I think I'm pronouncing that right, was just 13 years old when she started baking cookies. She was also, after that, she was the ball girl for the Oakland A's in her youth. That was something that the owner, Charles O. Finley, introduced in 1968. So if you guys don't know about the Oakland A's owner, Charles O. Finley, he was a weirdo. Like, he wasn't a weirdo, but he just was an odd character who loved.
He was like William Castle, right? Where he pulled stunts, kind of.
Right. Like all kinds of different
promotions, wild promotions.
Yeah, and just like he'd have these like wild ideas that he'd be like, no, we're going to do this. He also owned the California Golden Seals, the hockey team, or the Oakland Seals, and he wanted the uniforms for the A's and the Golden Seals to match. But the problem is that, especially during that time period, hockey skates were basically all black. He didn't like that, so he wanted the hockey skates to be white to match the shoes of the Oakland A's players. So he would have the hockey skates painted white.
Wow.
And apparently that towards the end of the season, these hockey skates would weigh 1,000 pounds because they're just, it's like you're getting fucking a black puck just slamming into your shit all the time, stick tape and all that stuff. So yeah, he had all kinds of interesting ideas, and the ball girl was one of the things that he introduced. And to this day, that still exists with I would assume all teams. They have a ball person.
Yeah, and so Debbie, she did that.
So yeah, she was the ball girl, and she would take the money that she was making as a ball girl to buy the ingredients for her cookies, and she would insist that all the umpires take milk and cookie breaks.
Oh, really?
So she was doing this shit when she was like basically in high school. And Debbie was also a very pretty young lady, so the umpires would totally they were all about it. In 1976, 2 years after graduating from high school and fresh out of dropping out of community college, she married a guy named Randall Fields, where the name comes from. Randall owned a financial and economic consulting firm called Field Investment Groups. Debbie,
the numbers guy.
He was. Yeah. So Debbie really wanted to open up a cookie business at 20. She was dead set on it. Randall and everybody at the firm told her a cookie business was not going to be successful at all.
I heard she was kind of demeaned one time by one of his friends because she brought up the prospect of that. And then he, this like man was like trying to, he like got a dictionary out and he was like trying to be like condescending. And that probably, that kind of stuff fuels people.
Well, it wasn't just that dude, and it wasn't just like the people at the firm and her husband.
It's just society at the time, right?
Her mother-in-law told her that it wasn't gonna work. Her mom even said to not do it. She turned to her friends. Her friends told her it was a bad idea. She didn't get any support from anybody. Randy knew that Debbie was hell-bent on opening up this business, so he was able to secure a $50,000 loan to fund the business. In 1977, she opened up her first location in Palo Alto, directly across the street from Stanford. Smart move. And we talked about this earlier, about a lot of the restaurants that our first encounter with was next to a college, like Chipotle.
Yeah.
Panda Express was one that opened up one next to UCLA. So there's a lot of places that get their start out. The first time I ever had a Pita Pit, which is a small chain.
Oh yeah, Pita Pit. Yeah.
Was next to a college. My first time having Chipotle was in Davis, next to UC Davis.
Oh yeah. It's smart.
It's great idea.
Yeah.
So apparently when she opened up the location, no one came through the doors. I mean, this is a thing. Like now there's like trends in desserts, and places will open up like a cupcake shop will open up or a cookie shop. So this is in like the late 70s when that really wasn't a thing. Like
that wasn't a thing to have fresh cookies like that.
One specific thing.
And that, a specialty thing.
Bake shops were they'd sell everything. They'd sell cookies. They'd sell cakes.
Well, I heard a lot of common, like to go buy cookies, it was always just pre-made shit.
Yeah,
right?
like you'd go to the store and get cookies, Mother's cookies or whatever.
Yeah, but it was all pre-made, and so it was a big deal.
Or would be one thing that a bakery would do.
Yeah.
Just only cookies.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a foreign concept at the time.
But not a chain on cookies. That's kind of insane. Yeah.
Well, yes, but even just a standalone cookie, one shop was a weird idea. So nobody came through the doors. But Debbie had a solution, and it was to hand cookies to all the students that were walking by. It didn't take long for the tides to turn, and she was able to make that location across from Stanford a huge success with lines out the door every single day.
I heard that her and her husband made a bet. Like he made a bet that she wasn't gonna do
well.
The first day or something, and she
lost.
She lost it, and she was like, "Oh fuck, am I gonna be fucked?" But then quickly, when she started applying those tactics of samples,
and when you listen to Debbie talk, even now, because she's still around, she is 100% a go-getter.
Yeah,
you can tell that she is, driven to work hard and to succeed and to put herself out there and push what she wants to push. There's certain people that just have that knack to them and that can get you to do things like buy things or whatever. Like,
persuasive. Yeah.
Just like not taking no for an answer.
And it's so good though. It's not like she's selling you crap cookies. Like they're so good.
Yeah, they're good. They're good. I mean, Mrs. Fields was great. And they were
cakes.
Yeah, those things were freaking awesome.
Yeah. Did she invent that?
I have no idea. I couldn't quite. It's funny when you go into the history, like the minutia of Mrs. Fields cookies, you can't really find much. Whereas with Panda, it's pretty it's laid out pretty good. Where they talk about the dude who invented the orange chicken recipe, and they talk about like where things like went and how they strategically opened up places and got out of malls and all that stuff. With Mrs. Fields cookies, it's not like that at all. She was very specific when it came to expanding. She was hesitant to expand at first just because she wanted to make sure the quality was up. because she knew that all it would take was one bad day and her reputation was ruined. So
I heard people sold fake recipes.
I'm sure they did. Sure they did. During the first 5 years, she was able to expand to 65 stores, and she was making $20 million in profits. But she was very meticulous, man. She wanted to, she had big dreams, big goals, and she knew that each shop had to be, up and running.
Primo.
Everything had to be like legit. In 1990, she began franchising. At its peak, there was over 650 retail bakeries in the United States and almost 100 more throughout 11 different countries. That has since gone down dramatically. I mean, like we've talked about, you could still find, and I'm sure you still can, Mrs. Fields cookies in a lot of different malls, but they were in malls all the way to the end. And I think a lot of them, kind of falling off was she sold the company. And she's the face of the company. She's still Mrs. Fields, and she's involved in that as a spokesperson. But she sold the company to like a big conglomerate, and a lot of times it's like they don't see the writing on the walls, and they're just trying to like appease their investors or whatever, and it just doesn't. Mrs. Fields is just tanked. You can still see like when you're going by food courts that have all these slots, you can still see where the Mrs. Fields cookie stands were. They have a specific look to them.
Yes, yeah, distinctive. Yeah.
So I know she was instrumental on creating all of that.
Do you know when it was sold?
It was sold, I believe, it was shortly after 1990. After she began franchising, it was sold shortly after that.
Oh, dang!
So it makes you wonder too, like. I wonder if she built the company up to sell it, because a lot of times what companies will do is they'll and this is like a lot of businesses in general, they'll kind of overinflate what their numbers, and they'll overinflate the amount of locations and to eventually like sell off to somebody, or hopefully get merged into something else. And to me, when you look at 5 years, she had 65 stores. She was making $20 million in profits. And then, shortly after, not too much longer after that, 650 retail bakeries. I mean, that's a huge, but when you're making 20 million in profits, especially in the 80s, that's a big fucking chunk of change that you can, reinvest in your business to try to sell for fucking, I mean, I don't even know what she sold the place, the whole thing for, but it had to be a pretty penny.
Dude, quick question. Have you ever been to a Mrs. Fields standalone?
No.
I have.
Where
in Chino Hills, there was one. It was a Mrs. Fields you could just go to.
So,
but it was Mrs. Fields TCBY.
Oh, gotcha.
So, but it was Mrs. Fields outside of a mall.
Does she live in Chino?
I don't know. Does she live down there?
I'm gonna look that in. I wonder
in Mikasa.
I think
maybe.
Let's see. Debbie Fields is her name, right?
Yeah. I feel like she probably lives in Malibu or something.
I mean, you never know.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg lives in the hills of Chino.
Does he?
Diamond Bar, but close enough.
I don't know. Let's see. She lives in Tennessee, actually.
Oh, yeah.
She moved to Nashville in 2014. So she's originally from Oakland, but...
Yeah, she's in the Bay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, so that Palo Alto is the first one. Have you been there?
No, I haven't. I had no idea.
I wonder if it's still open.
Good question.
We should look that up.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up right now.
Yeah.
While I do that, I'm gonna.
Is that the first? That's the first store.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's see, Mrs. Fields, Palo Alto. Let's see.
These are historical sites, guys, that you can visit if you're in the Bay Area.
We'll see if it exists.
I doubt it exists. Let's see.
Okay. So it looks like. No, dude.
It's not there.
Mm-mm.
Fudge brownies.
I don't see it at all.
Fudge sickles.
Yeah, no.
Fudge shit in my fucking pants, motherfuckers.
Is Miss Fields Mormon? That's what it asks.
That's weird. Is it a conspiracy, Mormon conspiracy theory?
I don't know.
Does she believe in Joseph Smith?
She and her cookies have made millions while at the same time making the majority of Mormon Utah housewives overweight. Mrs. Fields herself has a trim, beautiful figure. This is because she has discovered a secret antidote that gives her the ability to resist her own cookies. This is like the Utah Hall of Fame. What the fuck?
Wait, did you find some fan fiction on Mrs. Fields?
Mrs. Fields will not reveal this chant for it could cause the decline for her profit margins. Debbie Fields has no direct Utah connections that we could find, yet she is listed on Utah's most famous women. So maybe we're missing something. What the fuck is this?
Is this Utah's women list?
Is Utah Hall of Fame. This is a utahstories.com. This is published November 11th, 2008. Okay.
And they talk about women gaining weight.
This is very strange. I have no idea what that's about.
I know. Funny. We're not familiar with the biggest women's list of Utah publication.
But it looks like that location is no longer. No, man. I don't see it.
Palo Alto? It's not on there anymore?
I don't think so, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Panda is still there to call back to last week.
Yeah, the Panda Inn is still.
The OG one is still.
The Glendale location, the second location of the Panda Inn, which was the precursor to the Panda Express, that location is closed. But the original Panda Inn is still in Pasadena. And there's a couple more. I always wondered about like the Panda Inn, because when you're driving, being in Southern California, when you're driving around, every once in a while you will see the
Panda Inn. And
you're like,
what is?
I always wondered. I was like,
I've never been. Have you?
No, we should go.
We should go, dude.
I know where it is.
We should do a video there too. No one talks about Panda Inn.
No,
that's a thing.
It's a thing.
That's weird.
LA in a Minute does a really good job with all this stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Have you heard of that guy?
No.
He runs a pretty good Instagram account, TikTok account. I think he like really blew up on TikTok.
Oh.
But LA in a Minute is essentially like a little chunklet of a podcast. Like it's basically like he's awesome. Yeah. I highly recommend LA in a Minute to anybody that's listening to this podcast. If you're curious about anything that's like Southern California related, that's like, especially with food stuff, he is on it, man. He's the best. And I will use LA in a Minute for researching a lot of these podcasts too.
Oh, cool.
He's got great knowledge.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. LA in a Minute.
Wow.
There's some fun facts about
Mrs. Fields.
So Debbie worked at the Dolphin Show at SeaWorld.
Ooh.
Yeah. She also was the homecoming queen. There was over 700.
So Don Taylor would try to.
Yeah, he would
try to employ.
There was 700 outlets in the United States, and in less than 15 years, she opened up 400 stores.
Wait. So where is it at now? You said 400 stores?
No, now I think there's like 200 locations left.
Wow.
There's not that many.
Dang, dude. Yeah. I want to get Mrs. Fields before they're gone.
Mrs. Fields seemed to be everywhere for a minute.
They were, dude. I mean, there was a store that I could go to in my hometown that wasn't a mall.
Yeah.
I wonder how many there is of that. That's very strange.
This is the kind of stuff that, unless you find the like old Web 1.0 like blogs and stuff,
50
unless you like come across, like, because I'll just go through pages and pages and pages on Google of like just trying to find different information. And sometimes it just isn't fucking there. And in fact, the next episode that's going to air in 2 weeks from now, that episode, I had a really hard time finding the locations, and it took me forever to find the third fucking location. And I thought, why isn't there any photos of this? There's nothing about this location. And it kind of, I had to like do a deep dive to see if that location even existed, because I knew that the wife of this place, yet to be named, I knew she was from there. So I'm like, is she just from there? And I'm just the name, the Downey location is popping up. No, there was a location in Downey, but it took me a long time. It's really strange.
You have to dig sometimes with those weird ones, but
it is not the next.
That shouldn't.
It's not even that weird. I mean, it is weird, but it's not weird in that respect.
No.
It should be well more like documented. You know?
Yeah, that's strange. Yeah, it's fascinating. Mrs. Fields. I was thinking about it. Is there any other big cookie chain? Like
Famous Amos, but that's not really a shop.
No.
You like Famous Amos? You do, don't you? Like the name?
I do.
The Amos.
Famous Amos.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I like their chocolate shit cookies.
It's good. They're crunchy. You got little tidbits in there.
Oh man, imagine if they had shit in cookies. Don't they have shit in coffee? That we talked about that in the coffee bean episode.
Yeah, we did that. This actually coffee that I'm drinking right now is pretty good.
Is that goat shit mountain?
No, it's actually it's Kona. It's 100% Kona blend. Mm-hmm. Which, if you know anything about Kona, it's expensive. It's really expensive, and it's only grown certain times of the year, so that's why the price is so high.
Debbie Fields could probably afford that for sure.
Debbie Fields can afford a lot.
Yeah.
But she's out there fucking grinding.
Good on Debbie Fields. Yeah,
man. She didn't take no for an answer. Didn't take no from anybody, and fucking powered right through.
Yeah, I heard that they were also big in the internet stuff in the 80s.
Oh, interesting.
Mrs. Fields was to do the inventory thing as well. Yeah. I don't know if that's a weird correlation with the mall thing. Maybe they got word of Panda Express or something.
You know what? It wouldn't surprise me at all, and it wouldn't surprise me if they knew each other.
Yeah, probably, dude. California.
And if she was opening up places and they were opening up places,
they had to.
There had to be some kind of like
still around, right?
They're all around, and they're roughly the same age too. Bless you. Like I said, wow, Jesus Christ! Oh my God! Oh, you all right? You look good. You're okay.
Right, cool.
It's COVID.
Is it COVID?
Yeah, it was.
Damn. Dude.
Yeah. I'm starting to feel better finally.
Good, dude. Yeah, heck yeah, man. All you need is a Mrs. Fields cookie, and you'll feel set. We used to go and have movie nights at my friend Kamel's, who's now a filmmaker, and he would get in Chino Hills at the Mrs. Fields. He would get the little cookies. What are they called?
Cookiettes.
Is that what they're called?
Little Debbie's?
Is it little? No. That's another thing. Yeah. I know the story of that too. Little Debbie's. That was the owner's daughter.
Oh.
That picture.
Yeah.
That was also groundbreaking in some way too. But all this stuff is kind of amazing when you think about it. Just the chain of a cookie shop. You know?
I would have thought.
Yeah. I was thinking about that. The mall chains, like. Do you remember Sweet Factory?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, Sweet Factory was the shit as a kid.
I never thought it was the shit.
Actually, it was overpriced and whatever. Man, it was brutal.
You'd be like, oh, I'm going to get some of this. Get some. It was always like, man.
Maybe I don't remember. Yeah,
dude, it sucked.
Yeah, it was a place that you wanted to like, but it was expensive.
It was expensive. And I'll never forget, like, the problem with Sweet Factory is that it was the price. And so you get all pumped up and you'd have your bag and you'd fucking filling it full of bullshit and you go up to the counter and you're like 10 and they're like, that's gonna be $17 and you're like, oh my God, that's like, I don't have $17. No. I have $4.
I'm not a millionaire. Okay.
So your eyes are so much bigger than your wallet. And then you go up there and you're fucked. And like you do that one time in your life, and then you never go back to Sweet Factory.
Yeah, you just want gummy sharks, dude.
What is that place called? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's called? Like it's Sugar or Sugar?
Oh, Sugar.
Is that what it's called?
There's also like Rocky Mountain Fudge.
No, that's its own little fucking.
What was the other one before Rocky Mountain? Whatever.
Fudge.
There's another big chocolate store one. Seeds.
That should be
Is C's from California?
I think they are.
Okay, well, folks, you may see something soon.
Mary, was her name Mary? Mary C?
Yeah. She was. She actually knew Mrs. Fields probably too.
Did she? Yeah.
Yeah, back in the 20s. Yeah. I can't imagine Mrs. or C's being started like in the 80s. Like that shit's got to be like. I think it probably predates like the Civil War or something.
It sure does. I have no idea.
We'll find out.
I couldn't tell you. Where
Stay tuned.
Oh, dude, we got to go, man. We got to do a C's episode.
Where are they from?
Fucking San Francisco, brother.
All right, dude. Yeah, man. You guys got a San Francisco treat coming up.
Fuck yeah.
Man, San Francisco and their fucking sweets. What's the deal?
Oh, no. You know what? No, I take that back. They're from L.A. 1921, dude. Over 100 years old.
I knew it.
Bro, now they're headquartered in South San Francisco near the airport.
Oh, but where were they? They were in L.A.
Yeah, they were in L.A., yeah.
It just looks Art Deco-y, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so 1920s.
They're still good.
Yeah. Fuck, all right, well, we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
You guys have something to look forward to.
That's awesome,
Sweet tooth.
Yeah, you always learn something on California's Foodland.
And
with Robert and Ross,
yeah. We're glad to have had you. I hope you enjoyed our sweet story of the awesome inspirational Debbie Fields.
And normally, like I've said in the last 2 episodes, that we normally will save a spot at the end to read deranged Yelp reviews,
which is fun.
But like, it's hard to. I mean, how are you going to fucking talk shit about Mrs. Fields cookies?
We've got too much respect for the cookie cake and
like she's an icon.
Yeah.
You know, Debbie Fields is an icon, and she's a fucking go-getter, and and we appreciate the hustle and the attention to detail to the point where she was able to sell that freaking franchise for a chunk or that name for a chunk of change.
Yeah, and I'm sure that guy that pulled out the dictionary, hasn't made nearly as much as she did in her lifetime. Yeah.
Yes.
And that guy grew up to be Don Taylor's omelet factory.
Oh my God, dude. Omelet Express. I think that place is still around. I don't think it's called Don Taylor's anymore. I think it's just called Omelet Express.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, dude.
Vomlet Express? No.
Vomlet? Oh my God. There's actually some really good, in that little area where Don Taylor's is like a really cool little area of like some of my favorite restaurants.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's this really cool hair shop over there. It's half like hair salon, half barbershop. And both are like decorated differently, but they're done really well. Super, super great area.
That's cool.
Yeah, and Don Taylor's is smack dab right in the middle of it all.
Oh, that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try it.
Billy Corgan over there once.
Really?
Yeah, I did, man. There's this coffee shop that's been around in Santa Rosa forever called Aroma Roasters. And they're awesome. I love Aroma Roasters. And me and George, who I've mentioned on the podcast like 800 times.
Yeah.
Me and George were hanging out with a couple other buddies, and George goes, "Oh, it's Billy Corgan." And he was joking. And I'm like, really? He's like, nah. And then we see like this really like tall.
Yeah, he's tall.
He's tall, yeah. But we see this really tall, like very like very pretty goth chick walk in too. And then somebody else, and then they all come out, and I'm like, no, that's Billy Corgan. And George is like, no, that's not Billy Corgan. I'm like, that's fucking Billy Corgan. He's wearing a Billy Corgan hat. That's fucking Billy Corgan. And he was looking at some like old car. And Billy Corgan is known to like kind of travel throughout the country and like do like just check things out. And he's very curious about weird historical shit.
Yeah.
That area is pretty historical too, so it makes sense. And then shortly after that, they played at the Phoenix Theater in my hometown, which you would never think the Smashing Pumpkins would ever play like such a small club. But yeah, man,
that's cool.
That's when they kind of maybe were there to scout the place or something. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Very interesting to see Billy Corgan on that little area where Don Taylor's is.
Man,
there's no Mrs. Fields there though. That's for sure.
Oh man, well, there's Mrs. Fields in our hearts, and
there is.
And on that note, in Guy we trust.